about what I've been going through recently. I got my notebook and everything, stuff I want to talk about. If you go on my community post, before I just want to get this out of the way, this is probably going to be an hour or whatever the case is. Don't care, just brace yourself. So if you go on my community post, I posted two things about basically me seeing hellhounds. One of which was a Doberman. I'm not even I'm not a dog person. I don't own a dog, none of that stuff. But one of them was basically a Doberman, and this is when I was basically staying at my house, when my mom had a house, and I was walking one day, and randomly while I was walking, I had this vision, or whatever the case it was, of a Doberman barking at me that looked exactly like that picture I posted on my community post, and it was pitch black in the dark and everything. The first thing that came into my mind when I saw that was that basically it was a hellhound, and it was so like. And I've said that in my community post, how no one in my neighborhood owned that type of dog. It was a hellhound. It was so real that when I saw it, like through my mind's eye, or when God basically was telling me this, that it was so real that you could almost sit there and touch it. And I heard the dog barking, was just barking at me. It just looked like a Doberman. That was it. No red eyes, no smoke and fire and claw, none of that crap. Literally, just looked like a Doberman that I posted on my community post, and I saw that. And at that point, I knew that something's going on, and that somebody is watching me, or basically somebody and something doesn't like me. It's the devil's kingdom, but whatever. So there's that. That was the first time I saw a hellhound, and then the other time was basically Cerberus, when I cut off somebody that I used to affiliate with on here. That happened, and then as of recently, ended up popping up again. Now, keep in mind while I'm talking about this and I'm saying this stuff about the Doberman and the Cerberus and whatnot, the three-headed hellhound, that basically I don't watch anything that pertains to three-headed dogs. I don't watch anything that pertains to hellhounds. I have seen a Doberman before, but it's been years. That's not something that occurs and pops up in my mind. I want to say that. And also, I put the version of Cerberus, the Hercules version, because that version, the way it looks, even though it looks different in my dreams, but that's about as accurate as it's going to get. I haven't watched Hercules in years. For like 10 years, I'm more of an Aladdin type of person. But the point is that I went to sleep recently, and this is actually 2 weeks ago, last week or 2 weeks ago. I went to sleep, and randomly, out of nowhere, while sleeping on my uncle's couch, basically, when I woke up, in the process of me waking up, basically, my skin was touching the face, was touching the cheek and the face of basically Cerberus, the hellhound. And when that happened, I touched one of its heads, the cheek of one of its heads, and then gradually, when I touched the cheek of the dog, the other two necks were basically raising themselves up from the ground, and they were like barking, in the air and everything. And in that moment, God was with me in that moment. There's no powers involved, none of that stuff. God was with me in that moment, and the only thing I heard God say in my mind was that basically I would never let anything bad happen to you. I'll protect you until the end of time. I would never let anything bad happen to you, or whatever. And basically, the dog it backed off. It backed up, and all it was barking. I wanted to see and come out and say that I don't think about this stuff. That means I don't do anything in my personal life. That means that literally somebody is watching me. God has told me this multiple times, that literally every time I sit here, go to the bathroom, whether I'm standing up or sitting down on the toilet, that literally they're watching me. From my camera, my phone, whatever the case it is, they're watching me, and they know who I am. which I don't know if I said this in previous videos before live streams, but basically, guys also sat there and told me that the the devil's kingdom knows who I am. I'm not about to sit here and say the word I want to say because I don't know how this crap is going to react. But you know who I am. The Rockefellers, the Rothschilds, specifically those two families. They know who I am. And I'm a nobody. But I've been learning in life, and I told somebody that I've been talking on the phone with that basically it doesn't matter if you're a nobody or if you're a no one or whatever the case it is. It takes one person to basically shake the devil's kingdom, and that's basically mentioned in the Bible multiple times. You can going all the way back to Moses, going all the way back to Moses in the Old Testament, all the way up until Jesus, and when the 12 apostles, they basically went their way. And they were by themselves. It takes one person to literally shake the devil's kingdom to frighten him and get him scared. And you know, we're in the end times and all this other stuff. So, want to sit here and come out with that. So, there you go. And then I'll also talk about what number I am in terms of the whole 144,000. I'm not number 4 anymore. I'm number 5. But whatever Jesus told me, it was a personal reason. But it's the stuff I'm struggling with. But I'm still basically in the top 10. So, there's that. And then I also posted that dream I talked about, where basically I was sitting, was writing. I talked about this stuff openly about basically how I write horror, dark fantasy, all types of stuff, and I was writing down some ideas and finishing some stuff because I totally forgot about it. It's been like months, basically like a year. Was writing it, was frustrated as I don't know what, went to sleep, and then basically and I didn't pray for anything at all whatsoever. And then the next thing I know, I'm literally in heaven, and I'm in a room, there's a bed, and I'm in a room, and literally I'm sitting on God's lap on this throne, and he has my notebook, and it was wide open and everything, and God literally joking, since he does have a sense of humor, opened it up. I was looking at it and everything, I was in shock and all, and I was just saying, I'm just like, yo, that's my notebook, like, yo, what? And next thing I know, God is joking, and he's sitting over there saying that, you know, oh, well, this is pretty dark, you know, because when you write horror and dark fantasy, you know, it is dark. And God was just joking about that. And then whatever he kept saying, I was just laughing my butt off to the point where basically I turned into a kid. I basically turned into a baby, and I have a picture of me what I look like as a baby, and literally I'm sitting on his lap as a child. I go from a full-blown man to what I look like now to basically turning into a freaking child, and I'm a baby, literally sitting in his lap laughing and everything, and it's hilarious. And so and then my dream ended. But that, and I'm getting to the whole multiverse stuff and all this other stuff. I wanted to get this out the way. It was that. And then as of recently, I've seen, like, I also don't look at anything. They have like GIFs and stuff about like reptilians or whatever, but they're like more of like in a jokey manner or whatever. But point is, I don't look at anything that has like reptilian vibes, or literally, you know, that literally look like freaking lizard creatures and whatnot. And so one of them had to do with Hillary Clinton, who's a demon, and she also has a clone, but she's a demon. She eats people and everything. But I should have said that, but whatever. Whatever. But basically, Hillary Clinton was in the dream, and then I saw like a reptilian. I saw that, and basically they were telling me, and I was sitting down in a classroom, and God was protecting me and everything. And I think I saw like maybe like 2 in one dream, or 1 in a dream, or whatever the case is. And they were basically just talking. I forgot what they were saying, but they were basically just smiling and grinning, and they were just interested, and they were telling me and what they want to do with me, and that basically they literally want to. This is actually real dark, but Mayans and Aztecs used to do this, and this is where skin suits come from. What the hell? Anyway, where skin suits come from, it's this thing called Flaying, Flaying. I think that's right. Look that up, and you'll see what I'm talking about. And the Mayans of the Aztecs used to basically get a knife, and they would skin they would basically skin people off their body, their bones. And the reptilian in my dream, or the reptilians, were basically sitting over there telling me that this is what I want to do to you. And they basically had a wax figure of my face and my head, literally with no eyeballs and none of that stuff. They were basically saying that I want to wear your skin, and which that's pretty demonic. And then it was that, and then this is last week, and I was asleep. I was getting ready for work and everything, or whatnot. I was asleep, and then set my alarm clock for like 10, 20 more minutes, you know, to doze off or whatever. But then, and I told myself I was gonna wake up regardless. But then, literally, go to sleep the second time, and then there's a reptilian literally scratching on my head. Like I'm talking about like scratching your head, like deep in my skull, in my head, and whatnot. And they were touching me and stuff. And so, want to talk about that because it's important to talk about this stuff, because not a lot of people sit here and understand like spiritual attacks and stuff. I don't get normal attacks like, oh my gosh, I saw something, you know, then rebuke you in the name of Jesus. Is basically like, you know, I literally get attacks from high level demons and stuff. I've never seen like witches and stuff or whatever, but high level demons basically. So that, and I'm trying to sit here and think of anything. So there's that. And I want to talk about this. This is probably going to be long as I don't know what. So that's done. And I want to talk about this multiverse stuff, because I put it on my community post and everything. It won't even help to sit here and explain it on TikTok. You're just going to have to follow me, follow through with me on this, and just carefully like listen. So basically, I gotta explain because DC Comics basically has a map of their multiverse and stuff. And so basically, I explained that basically the one that's in orange is basically where good conquers evil. They the heroes win at the end of the day and everything and whatnot, and they win. Whereas like in the blue, basically evil beats good, and where where let's just go with the plain example, like where basically Superman beats Batman. Superman beats Doomsday's character. Superman beats Doomsday in the on the world that's basically like in orange or yellow on my page. Whereas like on the flip side of it, there's actually an event where instead of that happening, Doomsday is Batman. Batman injects himself with Doomsday's DNA, and now he's evil and all this other stuff and whatnot. That's an event. But point is, where good happens, the opposite happens on another world, basically. Mother of God, how can I sit here and say this? Let me think for a second. Okay, yeah. So, I've talked about this before, how basically I've talked about all these different versions of me that are good, that are involved with church, that have grown old. They like drawing. One of them is a celebrity. Well, there's actually multiple versions that aren't actually like music. They like drawing, they like music, all this other stuff. They have kids, all this other stuff, are married, whatever. That's the good side. The bad side is that basically for every version of me that is good, there's a version of me that basically is evil. I don't know how many of them there are, but point is that recently, God, when I went to sleep, I was watching this TV show called Beef, Beef, on Netflix. I was just watching it to watch it because it kept recommending it to me, and went to sleep on, I think, episode 3 or 4. And as soon as I went to sleep, basically didn't pray or anything. God literally spoke to me when I went to sleep, and didn't have the moment. And as much as I talk about this stuff, this multiverse stuff and all this other crap, I don't think about this stuff on a day-to-day basis. I just want to make that clear. I talk about it, but I don't think about this stuff on a day-to-day basis. It just happens, and God shows me. And so I went to sleep, and lo and behold, as soon as I go to sleep, I'm in a casino or an arcade or whatever the case it is, and there's a kid that basically has this video game. It's not a video game, it's a game. It's so weird. And I bought it, and this is very descriptive, and I'm not making this up. And I bought it in my dream for $15. And the kid, it was a boy. The kid sat there and showed me, that basically it can do this or whatever. And the first thing that came to my mind is that basically, the multiverse. And literally, as soon as that happened, when I bought the game from this kid, I can't even describe it. I'm not going to. When I bought the game from this kid, when I pulled out, like, it was like sort of like, I think like film or whatever the case it was, it showed an entire map. I saw like maybe like 20, 30, 40 different worlds, but I only saw like maybe like 4 to 5 like face value in that dream. And in that dream, basically the worlds that were still alive that God didn't blow up, was I'm repeating this word for word, that God did not blow up, because it tells you in this dimension's Bible that God's going to blow the planet up. And God sat there and told me in my dream that basically the ones that are highlighted, that are in yellow, gold, or whatever you want to call it, those are the worlds that I didn't blow up. But there are worlds in black that were like cracked and broken and black that basically God destroyed. And I saw like 3 in a row that were still alive that had me in them. And then there was a world in black. I went and instead of showing me the world that was in gold, the God showed me the one that was in black, and he took me there. Even though he blew it up or whatever the case is, he was giving me like a review of basically what he did to the version of me. And this is also where I talk about like the dark versions of myself in a second. And so there was a version of me out there in the multiverse that basically, I'm not into this, but there was an evil version of me that basically was a rapist, was a pedophile, and he basically, what was it? He basically, I saw like the room and everything, the small room he was staying in, and basically he was a pedophile and a rapist. And God sat there and showed me that basically this version of you that exists basically is in hell, and is dead, and God wanted to show me that. And he also, summing this up too, because this is the same dream, he also sat there and told me that basically for every world that you see, basically the 20, 30, or 40 that I saw, even though I only saw like 4 or 5 at face value, that in each world there's a different heaven and there's a different hell. So basically heaven here is like the New Jerusalem, Golden City, all that jazz, and then hell is like fire and brimstone. Whereas like in another dimension, basically I can't honestly even wrap my mind around it, to be real, for heaven, but basically like something like Dante's Inferno, how basically when Dante and goes to hell, hell is the very bottom layers of hell are ice. It's like the 9th level where Lucifer is at. Let's just go with that. That could be basically another dimension of hell. And so God sat there and told me that, for each dimension that exists that you're looking at, there is a heaven and a hell for each one. And it was that and Mother of God. And God sat there and told me that there are versions of me that are dying off. And when I say like dying off, they're just dying off. God never really mentioned like details of it. I've seen like, I'm gonna go into this in a second, but I've seen versions of me dying off. I'm gonna go into like the dark versions. And this is also, because I mentioned this before in previous videos, about how basically this is also the second time that God has sat here and showed me a map of the multiverse, meaning that I'm not crazy, and that I'm not crazy. I am not making this up, that God literally has it mapped out in his mind, and he's showing me that there are other worlds out there that exist. And I've been posting like a lot of stuff on here and whatnot that can confirm that. So there's that. And then also the Sinbad movie with Shazam, that's real, because I actually went to a world where basically I was in a movie theater watching that, and that is most definitely real, and I ran into the Men in Black. There's that. And then want to sit here and talk about what else is there? I mentioned that, and then basically want to sit here and mention the darker versions of myself. I want to talk about the ones of me that are dying, but I want to get into the darker versions of myself. There are basically versions of me that basically the whole superpower thing has already happened and everything, and I am completely evil. I've met maybe about like 10 versions of me that are evil, and they are complete language, but they're completely evil. I'm not going to even cuss. They're completely evil to the bone. I've talked about the version of me and he was an older dude. He didn't look like me. He was older. He was like in his 40s, 50s, or whatever, and he was a pedophile and a rapist. The other versions of me that exist, they look like me. Yeah, they do look like me because I've only seen like one version of me that actually is that old. But one version of me basically, one version of me basically has superpowers and everything, and he's completely evil, and he rapes women and everything. And I'm telling you the whole shebang, because for every good version of you that exists, there has to be an evil version of you that exists, and that's how it works. They tell you this in these multiverse movies and everything. That's why I always sit here and say, you should watch these movies because it's real. There's that version. There's like versions that are down with the New World Order. I remember a long time ago when I was staying in my house, I had this thought of basically how I should sit there and take the mark of the beast. I rebuked it in the name of Jesus, but then literally within the span of my mind, it was the same thing with the Hellhound. I literally saw like it's like almost like a portal opened up in my room. I literally saw another version of me lining up to literally get the mark of the that I want to, because it'll get struck or medical misinformation or whatever. But it was the mark of the beast. He lined up at the pharmacy, and he sat there and he asked, "Oh, well, do you have this?" And basically lined up. And I think like months later or this year, God sat here and he told me that there is a version of you, even though you didn't take the mark of the beast, there is a version of you that took the mark of the beast. So that goes into basically including, I got so much I want to sit here and talk about. This stuff is crazy. So that goes into basically what I'm talking about. So even though you made the decision to not sleep with anybody that has the mark of the beast and not take the mark of the beast in general, there's a version of out there of you that has. So yeah, that dude, I don't know if it's the same dude or what. It has to be a different dude. So it's that. And then I got another version of me in another dimension where basically all hell on earth is breaking loose. And my family members that I know now, like my uncle, some of my cousins and whatnot, which when I had this experience, I only saw my uncle and some of my cousins. They were telling me in that dimension that basically this version of me that exists is literally a complete tyrannical dictator, and he's evil. The dude, I have as you notice, like if you look at my face, I have a scar right here and this right here on my face. The dude, literally, when that happened, this experience, this was like last year, I think either this year or last year. The dude, once I met him, he literally was literally scratching right on my face where my scar is at. And when I woke up, I sat there, and it was literally, when I woke up, it felt like a real person was actually scratching on my forehead. And this, by the way, basically is when I basically had stitches. I ran into a shelf when I was in kindergarten, like a retard. Had to laugh about that because that was so painful. And the dude's evil. It's out there torturing my family and everything. There's another version of me that I saw that I don't know his story and everything, but basically I saw him, but then he gave off evil vibes, and he wanted to. No, that's what it was. He wanted to kill me, and he wanted to. And through killing me, he knew that basically by killing me, and this is how doppelgangers and evil versions of yourself work. By killing me, that basically you absorb my essence, and you absorb my essence and my consciousness, which is why on my community post, if you scroll through it, I sit there and I have Jet Li's the movie The One, which you should watch that movie, because in The One, there's an evil version of Jet Li going about in the multiverse, and he's killing other versions of himself, getting powerful and everything, getting powers, running fast, super strength, all this other crap, and he's literally absorbing their essence. That's why it's called The One, because there's literally only one version of Jet Li that's good, of himself, that is good, left. If that makes a lick of sense. And there's legitimacy behind that, because that also is real. Because whatever version I'm at wants to sit there and kill me. And then I literally, this is before I was on the spectrum I am now, so this is last year. So literally, I morphed into a rat, and then I went into a hole with these rats and stuff, or these squirrels. It was a rat. Yeah, it was a rat or a mouse. And I fled and I left. So there's that. And then there, God also sat there and told me when I was in my house that this is weird, because I was sleeping one day, and like I said before, I don't really ask for this stuff. God just shows me this stuff. But basically, I was sleeping one day and went to sleep, and then randomly out of nowhere, I always carry like anybody that personally knows me knows I carry a gallon of water, and the gallons I was carrying at the time when I was staying in my house were completely different. They didn't have the blue handles on them. They had like, it was just a plastic like jug container. But basically, in my dream, I was carrying a jug of water, and basically, that was God showing me that like what you're seeing like is real. This is you and whatnot. And basically, God sat there and told me that when you get your superpowers and everything, and when this stuff hits the fan and the whole 144,000 thing, you are literally going to have to exterminate yourself because you are evil. And I actually heard the voice of another version of me that is evil and sat there and said that I know every move that you make because I'm you and you're me. Literally, those aren't his exact words, but that version of me exists, and that version of me is out there. So there's that. I'm trying to sit here and think of what else, because I have no reason to sit here and make this stuff up. It was that. What else was it? It's that version, and then also too, I've talked about how basically, my mom's house was in foreclosure. Some a-hole bought it, but basically didn't tell you the full context of that story, because basically went through it before. There's a version of me that basically went through the same situation, and long story short, I'm gonna make this short. The dude gave my mom a 7-day notice and whatnot to get out the house and all this other stuff, which he did. I'm assuming he did the same thing over there, but he was pretty much a bigger a-hole. He had to be, in order for another version of me to sit here and do this, what I'm about to sit here and say. And I would never do this. I want to put that out there in case somebody tries to sit here and caption this crap. Would never do this in my life. Wouldn't even sit here and beat the guy up. But the version of me that literally exists in that other dimension, my mom died. The house and everything, the dude stayed in the house and everything, but my mom died. I've been talking about my mom dying for like a while, because my mom has the whole mark of the beast thing. And there are versions of my mom that don't have that and are just happy and fine and everything. The point is, there also met a version of my mom that basically is married, and I also have a stepbrother. Fun fact. Met that version of my mom when me and my mom were sleeping in the hotel before we came to my uncle's house. The point is, going back to the original point, that basically the version of me, that this is like another version of me, again, the version of me that basically once my mom's house is in foreclosure and he left, literally, she ended up dying. Don't know what she died from or whatever the case is. It was just communicated to me that basically she ended up dying. And the way I met this dude was basically completely different. I was just having thoughts of basically just messing the dude up, but God sat there and told me that I know what you're thinking. But basically, there's a version of you that already sat here and did this. I'll handle it myself. And getting to the point, this version of me saw everything he did, and he went to jail. He was supposed to be in prison for about 10 or 20 years about what he did. Because the dude that is staying in my house now, the other version of him basically got with this dude I used to work with, pulled up to the house and everything, was busting the windows, all types of stuff, basically sabotaging it. The dude came out the house, the guy that owns my mom's house now, but another version of him, sat there, owned his house, drove, chased them, went on the chase and everything, and the dude literally sat there. Some fight ended up happening on the road or whatever the case is, but the dude, the version of me, literally sat there and blew this guy's cars up. This guy literally blew his car up, and I think he killed him. I totally forgot if he killed him or not. And then basically, since his mom was already dead, he was in prison for about 10 or he was supposed to be in jail for prison for about 10 or 20 years. But what had happened is, in that dimension, that basically he got let out within 2 months, because I'm assuming the world he's living in right now, if it's just like ours, which it probably is, when you have an offense like that, which is why I've been posting stuff about, rapists, pedophiles, all murderers and serial killers, all this other stuff about how they're letting these people out of jail. And even in my instance where I almost got killed by my brother and they let him out of jail, that's what they're doing. And that version of me sat there and said that, you know, if you want to sit there and do whatever the case is, go ahead, do it. It's like, you know, he sat there and he told me, he was like, yeah, I did it, you know, and yeah, I did it. I'm not ashamed of it. You know, I don't care. My mom's dead. He sat there and told me with his own mouth. Now, obviously, my mom is not dead. I would never do that, which goes into basically the whole multiverse thing and how your personality is different. It goes into the content of your character, who you are, and what you would do as a person. And obviously, I would never do this crap. You know, I wouldn't do anything to anybody unless they actually inflicted pain upon me, literally. And it normally doesn't end well good for those people. But anyway, and so there you go. And that of me exists. And when God sat there and told me that, God sat there and said that, yeah, I know what you're thinking. You know, this has already happened. The guy's even bigger a-hole in another world. But, you know, that was pretty much it. But that version of me that sat there and committed that crime, it was in prison for like 10 or 20 years, or, you know, well, he was supposed to be in prison for 10 or 20 years. He was in prison for about like 2 months, got out, whatever the case is. I felt for him, you know, his mom is dead. He didn't have nowhere to go, homeless. So don't know how his life turned out, but that's only about as empathetic as I'll ever get. I don't approve of doing that either. I would never sit there and do that. That crap's a waste of time. So that, and I'm pretty much, there's that. I've talked about how there's another version of my mom that's married, because my mom is single, and I have a stepbrother. There's that. I talked about that. And then I gotta sit here and talk about Mother of God. I was about to sit here and mention something. What was it? Sweet Jesus, Mother of God. And also want to sit here and say too, there it is. There it is. Also want to sit here and come out to, in terms of the multiverse, since I'm sitting over here talking about different versions of myself. That's what it was. I've talked about it before, about basically in the previous videos I did, the live streams, about basically powers of 144,000, the ability to absorb powers, like how like I'm like high up there, whatever the case it is, I can absorb powers by even like touching the ground, the surface, if I want to, or if I touch them, I can just basically steal their powers and stuff. Basically, the dream I had, basically, I gotta incorporate this somewhere, because I know I'm going everywhere, and I have this stuff written down, but this is coming off of my head. Basically, a dream. Had a dream. Basically, God sat there and told me it was displayed as in terms of like a comic book dream, where God was using like multiple like Marvel characters and stuff, since I like the X-Men and all this other stuff. But it was communicated to me in my dream about this whole power thing, that basically, what was it? Mother of God. So basically, in my dream, it has something to do with Mother of God. That helmet that Professor X wears in the, that's how it started. If you watch the old X-Men movies with Hugh Jackman and everything, it's Cerebro. Basically, I basically wanted to put on the helmet of Cerebro, which basically, if you watch that, you know, after this video, you watch that, you know, Cerebro, basically it's where Professor Xavier or anybody can sit there and find out basically who's evil, who's good, and who has powers in them, and what powers are about to manifest. Basically, in my dream, I put on the helmet of Professor X, Cerebro, and I basically saw, I didn't want to see the versions of people that like were good and had superpowers and everything. I wanted to see the versions of people that were turning evil, if I remember that correctly, or vice versa. And that happened, and I went into some guy's body, like Martian Manhunter from Justice League. I don't know how that turned out, but wanted to sit there and mention that because that actually happened. That happened, and then the dream, also that, and then I saw like all these like Marvel characters, which represented people. You know, God is using these characters to represent people, you know, in real time. And he was showing me that basically, you know, not everybody that's in prison, in jail, is a bad person. They can be saved, you know. And it got basically into people who were thieves and murderers. But then there are certain murderers, thieves, and then like that gets into like rapists and pedophiles that couldn't even be redeemed. And basically, it got split in half. God sat there and told me that basically there are a lot of people that are criminals that can be saved, like that are that do drugs, that rob people, whatever the case is, that are murderers, because people can change and rehabilitate themselves. It's where basically you get into like the rape and pedophile territory. Basically, you can't really be saved. And I'm saying this because literally in the dream, it was basically split two groups of people: the people who wanted to change and the people who didn't want to change. A lot of the people that were like that robbed people, that committed crimes to do what they had to do to support their family, or because they were poor, or whatever the case is. God was sitting over there telling me that basically these people have changed and that they can be saved. Not every single one of them is going to go to hell, and that there is hope for them. Whereas like the other versions of them that sat there and said that, yeah, I'm not down with this, screw this, I got my powers and everything, I choose to be a villain and everything. And that happened, and the group that, I forgot what group it was, Mother of God. What group was it? It was the group, the murderers and basically the thieves. Let's go with thieves. That's one of the words. They were sitting in the classroom, and basically they were learning how to use their powers and everything since they got them, or whatever the case it was, or basically since I went about and I basically collected them. Literally the term collecting, so I could train them and stuff. That's what it was. I went around to sit there and see what the villains, the people that were evil, because they are going to be getting this stuff when stuff pops off, to see who has a chance of salvation, who wants to change, and all this other stuff. And that group that I'm talking about that can be saved, put them in a classroom, and then when I basically flew in the air, I basically was flying, and basically my before my body touched the ground, I put my index finger, let my index finger touch the ground, and it stole all their powers. That's when God sat there and told me that you'll have the ability to steal powers from people, even no matter if there's like one person or like 5, 10, 20, or whatever the case is. And there you go. And they were also shocked at the fact that basically their powers and stuff were gone. But point is, that happened. It was that. And then once that happened, it was also emphasized to me, I guess it skipped, and basically I was looking at another version of my family member. My family member who's my cousin in this world. Basically, that version of him, that's my cousin. This is a long story. Man, swear to God, this is going to be long as I don't know what. This is probably going to be like 2 hours. So there's a version of my cousin out there in the multiverse that basically my mom died. My mom died when, I guess, this is emphasized to me. My mom died in another world, basically. In another world, not in another lifetime, because that gets in the past life and stuff. In another world, my mom died when I was a teenager, when I hit about 13, 14 years old. At the time in my life where I was 13 or 14 years old, I had a cousin. I'm not going to say his name, but I had a cousin that was like a father figure in my life. I would imitate him and everything. Basically, assuming so, my mom basically gave guardianship to basically my cousin so he could raise me. And he raised me just fine and everything. And that version of him ended up dying in that world. And basically, it's a long, this is like I'm going like in circles and stuff. He died in that world, and I forgot how old I was. I don't know if I was still a teenager or what. I don't know. But he ended up dying, and yeah, because my mom died and he ended up dying. And basically, in this dream that I'm talking about currently right now, I met this person of my cousin from another dimension and stuff. Mother of God, I sound crazy, but in another dimension and stuff. And in this dream, I saw like holograms of like basically all these versions of me that exist, and they were like they all formed a giant circle. There was hundreds of them, and basically most of them were motionless. They like knew that I knew they existed. I'm trying to sit here and give a perfect example. Really, the only thing I can really sit here and give an example of is when people have like hologram meetings and stuff. Like, I don't know, it's weird. I've seen it in like comic book cartoons and stuff and whatnot. The point is that there are like hundreds of holograms around me in the circle, and my cousin from another world was there. And I think there were about maybe like 5 or 10 versions of me that basically that were aware of the fact that I existed, and basically their holograms and stuff started to move, and they looked at me with a grin on their face, and they didn't like me. So there you go. That, and then I also got to sit here and talk about this. What I gotta talk about. So there's that. Just Mother of God. This is so. Excuse me. So there's that, and then what else was there? Mother of God. And then this actually happened to me a couple months ago. I want to do a video on this, but I'm doing a video on this stuff now to like update you and stuff. Was it a couple months ago or a couple months ago? Basically, I had is a dream. It's more like an experience. A dream, basically. I saw a celebrity. I'm not going to say this person's name. Hold on. Okay. Anyway. And I saw a version of the celebrity in my dream walking, and it was weird how, but they were like walking in my dream. Can't really describe it because it was a dream. And basically, they went as they were walking, they went through one mirror through the other, and basically, when they went through the mirror, they basically had the ability to bring another version of themselves from another world into like their world, if that makes a lick of sense. And so basically, I'm walking in everything, and I decide to sit here and do the same thing. But the version of me that I brought out of the mirror was an evil version of himself. No, he's basically evil. He was evil, but then he brought a good version of himself out of the mirror and whatnot. And then I decided to do the same thing, except I decided to bring like an evil. Well, I didn't know. But an evil version of myself out of the mirror. And this dude literally tried to, and I'm not joking about this either. This version of myself, once he came out the mirror, basically tried snapping my neck. Literally, I'm not even joking. When I sat there and when I woke up from this dream, it literally felt like somebody's hands were on my neck and he almost snapped my neck. The dude, as soon as I brought another version of myself out of the mirror, I sat there and I told him with his hands on my neck that, no, you retard. I literally cussed at him and everything. I'm like, no, you freaking retard. I dropped the F-bomb and I said, no, you freaking retard. You know, you don't want to snap my own freaking neck because this dude is evil or whatever the case it is. And he stopped what he was doing because I actually spoke some logic and sense into him. And so we're walking and stuff, and then my dream, like, it changes. Yeah, it changes. It changes and everything. And the next thing I know, this gets into like shift change, like related. The next thing I know, I'm like, basically, what happened? Mother of God. What happened? Sweet Jesus. That happened, and then somewhere down the line, because I only remember this and the other stuff that I'm about to tell you. Somewhere down the line, basically, I saw a portal, like a portal, like a circle, like a giant circle, like, you know, and whatnot. I saw like a portal. God was there, and I skipped from a celebrity to God, but whatever. And God was there, and God sat there and told me that there's a version of you right now that actually just won a I'll talk about this version of myself in a second, that actually just won an award at a music award, and it was called Loco Universe, L-O-C-O Universe, and which is crazy because that version of me that exists, I had this rhyme that I came up with when I was like 15 or 16 years old, and I sat there and I said something. It's not a cold world as in a cold world, it's a loco universe. Cold world refers to J. Cole when he would do mixtapes and stuff before he became as famous as he was. It's literally called Cold World, C-O-L-E world. And you can actually look it up, and that's a pun on basically a cold world, C-O-L-D. And came up with that, and this dude sat here, was at an award ceremony, and he won an award for his album. Talk about this dude in a second, because I actually met that version of myself, but I'm gonna talk about that in a second. And God was showing me this, and I was looking through like these different portals and everything, and I know it had to be like 2 or 3 that were going on at the same time, but when I asked, or more than 3, I don't know. But when I asked God, which version of me can basically play the guitar, because I've talked about how I love playing the guitar and all this other stuff. I like the music that has the guitar, everything. And God sat there and held up his finger, and he said that there's only one version of you that can play the guitar. And what I said was, to that, since he only said one version, I sat there and I said, so out of all these 5 portals, 3 or 5 different versions of me that, do music or whatever, which one can play the guitar? And God sat there and held up his finger, and he said that there's only one. Okay, there's that. There's that. I'm gonna talk about this person in a second, because I'm actually supposed to be merging with this person, quote unquote, merging with this person. And what was it? I want to get everybody up to date with that. And I actually know this person's life. Fun fact. I don't know if I already said this before in like a couple of videos ago, but that's the same dude that literally his mom has. I don't care about this. Okay, anyway, his mom basically is on dialysis. His mom is on dialysis. He's friends with famous celebrities and everything. They want to clone this dude, but they can't. And then as of recently, I was asleep one day, and I said before, like, how basically this stuff, it doesn't like occur in my mind. Hold on one second. This stuff doesn't pop up in my mind. But basically, I was asleep one day on one of my uncle's couches, and I was asleep, and then literally I have a dream, basically, where randomly out of nowhere, a CD basically falls on one of my uncles, because my uncle has 3 couches. Falls on one of my uncle's couches, and I'm walking like in my uncle's kitchen and everything. And basically I sat there, and it was a CD of basically all the stuff that this version of me was into, like the music he likes, because he likes listening to basically music from video games like Final Fantasy, Lord of the Rings, or whatever the case is. He likes listening to those types of things. And that was the CD. And then he actually has like a collection of them, actually. I think like maybe like 10 or 20 CDs of that type of stuff. And lo and behold, that happened. And then, what was it? Found out that in his world, there's something about like another version of like a character that's like in the Super Mario universe that's not here. And it had something to do with Nintendo. And it was that. And then he sat there and he told me that basically, what the heck? Anyway, what did he sit there and say? That I ended up basically, and then I also found out that when I met it, and this is in the dream in my uncle's house, and I guess like a portal or something opened up like where the kitchen is at, and basically I'm talking to him. I wouldn't say talking to him, but God basically sat there and told me that this version of you that exists, that he has like a bunch of albums, basically CDs and stuff. And this is like, God put this in my head while I was in the dream. And basically God sat there and told me that he has my stage name, everything, looks like me and stuff. But his albums, in terms of, because you can rate albums and stuff if you ever listen to music, mainstream or not, sat there and told me that his album had never gotten anything less than 4 stars. So he's a good musician, which I'm telling you about this person's life. So that version of me never got anything less than 4 stars. He also, even though his mom was on dialysis, he's also rich. And then what else was there? It was that. And then it was that. And then pretty much that was it. And then I also ended up, I heard his voice. That's what it was. I heard his voice in that dream. And then a couple of weeks later, as of recently, I ended up actually meeting him in person. And as of recently, what was it? Mother of God, hold on. As of recently, it was weird how this stuff happened, because I said this stuff before, like how this stuff isn't on my mind. But basically, what was it? It was something that had happened in my dream, or whatever the case it was. But I was in a room, and basically there was like about 8 different versions of me all in the same room. And I was about maybe the 3rd or 4th version of myself that basically had the darkest life. And basically, literally, because my life was pretty dark, even though I don't do dark stuff. Well, I used to, but I've talked about my testimony and stuff, but I don't do it no more. I was about the third or fourth version of myself that basically had the darkest life. And also found out that since I'm talking about this version of myself, there's a version of me that basically, of my mom, that basically married my cousin and I was born. So there you go. But he like looks weird and stuff. But point is, basically, that happened. We were all sitting down. I was talking to them and everything, and then randomly out of nowhere, the celebrity version of me, that's a celebrity, comes to the door. A portal opens, and basically, who in the world is okay? Anyway, hold on. Okay, never mind. That's not important. Just check my notifications. Basically, that version of me that basically is a celebrity. A portal had opened, and there's like a door, and basically I sort of saw into like his fancy mansion and all this other stuff, and I think he was wearing white and everything, and he sat down. And he sat down. He was talking to me. He sat there and he said that, yeah, man, my mom's is on dialysis, and he was real depressed about it. And this is the version of him that, version of me that basically is famous and rich. And that had happened, and then God basically took like all of us basically to like another world. Well, to another world where basically were like this Dragon Ball Z game that's supposed to be coming out, which I'm probably not going to live to see the light of day to this game. But they actually announced, I think last month or something, 2 months ago, this year, that basically Dragon Ball Z Budokai Tenkaichi 4 is going to come out and whatnot. But since it takes, and regardless of whether it's made now or not, or if it takes up to like, because making a video game takes up to 2 years, odds of me seeing that ain't gonna happen. If you know what's been going on, it ain't gonna happen. But basically, in my dream and experience, I guess this is the same video game or something, because God had all of us go to this place, basically this abandoned store, and we were all searching for this Dragon Ball Z game that we all wanted to play because all 10 of us basically liked it, and we wanted to play and everything. God made us invisible, and outside of the store were basically zombies. But I don't know if this is actually going to be a real thing or whatever the case it was. But zombies in this world, basically, they could attack people, obviously. And basically, they could, like, drain electricity from, like, utilities and stuff. If I remember that correctly. I don't know if that's going to be a thing or what. And so that happened. And then pretty much before the experience, even though it was a dream, it was an experience. Before it ended, I basically hugged all the versions of myself, and I sat there and I told them that basically, our world is ending, my world is ending. But then I also sat there and said that, I told them that my mom is dying, because my mom has to get surgery once again with all this stuff that's going on since she took the whole Mark of the Beast thing. And then okay, yeah, windows not up. Since she took the whole Mark of the Beast thing, she has all these problems and whatnot, and she could possibly have like breast cancer and whatnot. And I sat there and I told them that basically, my mom is dying. I basically, what's the best way to say it? I basically stood above all the versions of me, the other 9 versions of me, and I hugged all of them. And I sat there and I told them that, love your mom, take care of her, and, tell her not to take this and whatnot. And, and I said that, my mom is dying. And I hugged all of them. I was crying and everything. And that was pretty much it. Yeah. And that's the celebrity version of me that I met. I actually met this person. I wouldn't sit here and say I met this person in person, but I met this person. And that, and then what else was there? About dark versions of myself, talk about fish. I literally know that person's whole entire life, which is crazy. Hold on. So mentioned that. I actually covered that. What else was there? That's done. Oh, and I also had a shift change dream, because this also correlates with the whole merging with that version of me that's a celebrity stuff. had a shift change dream one day, and I've talked about this before, and I posted this on my community post, how basically, God told me that you will go to sleep one day and you'll wake up somewhere new. And I've also talked about, me like going somewhere else, that isn't here and whatnot. And I went to sleep one day. Only thing I can sit here and remember is that basically I went to sleep one day and I was at an award ceremony going up the steps, and I was wearing these futuristic shoes and everything, and was going up on stage, and people were saying my name or congratulating me. Okay, my mom is texting me. Anyway, let me finish this. Were congratulating me and stuff, and went to the podium, and I basically sat there and told people that I like to thank God for this. I won an award, won an award for something, and that was pretty much it. And God's basically shown me that that's coming. And I've talked about before how one of my videos, even though I'm reiterating this, how basically I went to sleep one day, I rolled over in my sleep, I was wearing sweats and a shirt. This is how the shift change is going to happen. So you can literally be sleeping in your, excuse my language, but you can literally be sleeping in your freaking underwear or butt naked, and God will literally take you somewhere, change your clothes and everything within seconds or minutes. Literally within seconds, and you will literally look like a new person. I don't even know if some people are going to sit here and believe this, but it's going to be crazy. It is going to be crazy. It's going to blow your mind. That's why it says in Habakkuk that basically God will do something in our time that even if you were told, you wouldn't believe it. And in which case, there you go. So that happened. Want to sit here and okay, the shift change thing, I haven't had any of those recently. I know the last live I did, want to sit here and mention this. There's a version of me that basically is in high school that's like 17 or 19. I remember the last live I did, it went the whole 144,000 one. So like the first or second live I did, basically I went to sleep, and then the next thing I knew, I basically was wearing my high school, this green hoodie I wear that I also do skits with, was wearing a green hoodie, looked in the mirror and everything, and I was like 17 or 19 years old again. And so there's a version of me out there that's in high school right now. And then also saw this dude, and I guess it's just really confirming what I've been telling people. Basically, there's a version of you, even though I'm a man, there's a version of you basically out there that's a female or like the opposite gender. If that makes a lick of sense. I mean, I've seen that in movies, but there's this dude in that I know that's gay, and what was it? He's gay, has his colored hair and everything, and in real time he became a teacher, and I guess he's a teacher over there, and he thinks he's a woman and everything, and lo and behold, in that world he is a woman. So literally the dude is a woman. And so there you go. So what else is there? That, and as of recent dreams is going back to last week. I was talking to somebody, me and this person, we talk a lot on the phone. I talk to this dude more than some of my friends and my family. But me and this person, we had the same, almost the same exact dream. We had two dreams about basically DC characters. He had one about Wonder Woman at a movie theater and she flew off, and I basically had a dream basically about the Green Lantern, and they're DC characters. And what was it? Wanted to put this on my community post, but I decided to do a video about it. Basically, in the dream, how I gotta explain this stuff. In the dream, basically, if you watch clips of this stuff, or if you like watch comic book channels or whatever the case it is, if you look up the gist of a Green Lantern, basically there's a green ring that basically goes out and tells people, if they are worthy. It searches for a ring bearer that is worthy of basically being the mantle of the Green Lantern, and see how much willpower they have, if they're a good person or whatever the case it is. And that was the case. That happened in my dream, but the ring, it looked different, and rings were going out and everything, and I got a ring on my finger, and the ring was talking to me. This is about maybe like the second, third, or fourth time I've said this or whatever. But it literally sat there, it talked to me, it spoke to me, and it told me that you are worthy, you are chosen. And there's a Bible verse about that that sits there and says that many are called, but few are chosen. I memorized that. It's in the New Testament. And and as soon as, and this is a metaphor for getting powers, and that powers are coming online soon. And once I got my ring, as soon as I got my ring, the first thing I started doing was that basically I started building God's army, which has been emphasized to me multiple times through the Green Lantern ring. Since I like the Green Lantern, and there's that sound again, Mother of God. Since I like the Green Lantern, so once I got my ring, and I was a Green Lantern and everything, I literally went about recruiting people, starting an army and everything. And I've had this like more than like once. I've had this maybe about like 5-6 times already, about basically building an army for God in the form of a Green Lantern. And when I do that, I basically go above and beyond, not just, recruiting 5, 10, 100 people, whatever the case it is. I'm literally building thousands of people, probably in the millions to be real. And in this dream, that was really pretty much it. I got a ring, started building God's army. But going back to previous dreams I've had about this, basically, if you look up stuff like the Green Lantern Corps, like there's like different like factions. There's a red lanterns, yellow lanterns, blue, indigo, purple, black, white. I think they got like one that's a gold core, Green Lantern Corps. They all represent something. It's something you can look into. I literally went beyond. And with this dream I had, I went beyond all that, and I exceeded my expectations. I started building cores and stuff that people couldn't even think of, stuff that was beyond me. And so that, and this is also a message of basically that powers and stuff are coming. War's about to break over. They've been talking about AI and all this other stuff, how AI can basically give birth to babies. It can do the chat GPT thing. AI can basically do everything. And basically, they're preparing for war over China. The American currency, dollar, is disappearing. It's fading away. And basically, and war's about to start. And then also around like in 2 months from now, Elon Musk wants to do his Neuralink thing, which there's a guy I posted on my second channel where basically he got it. And I'll post that on my community post. The dude literally is changing. So there you go with that. And then what else was there? Mother of God. I got that. And what else do I need to that. And look off of this. And basically looking off my notepad, I basically talked about everything, but I also wanted to talk about okay, hold on. And then also in terms of basically versions of me dying off, there's a version of me that literally he was with my mom, another version of my mom. They were in a car or whatever. I guess it was like some car accident and stuff. And the version of me, I guess he was like in high school, basically was hanging from the bridge because it was like a real accident, and they were unable to get him off the bridge, and basically he was hanging from the ledge with his hands. And before he died, God showed me that before he died, he basically gave his life to Jesus and everything, and he went to heaven. And literally I saw that version of me hanging from the bridge or whatever the case it was, or highway, whatever it was. And he got impaled. He literally fell, like it went straight through his body and stuff. And I know that because there's this dude that I used to go to high school with, not middle school with, that I don't think about. And I guess he was friends with him in real life, and he was crying about it. And so that version of me is dead. But I was also talking to that version of me that died, and I also sat there and told him that, basically I'm you. I told him, said, hey, what's up? I'm basically you. And I was like smiling, cheesing and everything. And there was that. There was also, as of a couple of months ago, basically they're doing something. I don't know what these people are doing and whatever the case it is, or these devils are doing or whatever the case it is. But basically, I've talked about how basically there are older versions of myself, because that's a thing they show you in TV shows. And somebody had commented before how basically they made a version of them that was a kid. So I'm not, I'm not tripping. Basically, I saw a version of myself a couple months ago. I know it wasn't this month, a couple months ago. And he was a manager he was in his 40s or 50s. He was a manager at a hat or shoe store. He was the general manager. Yeah, he was the general manager. Mother of God. He was the general manager at a shoe or hat store. And it was this chick that I know that I don't talk to anymore at all whatsoever. And she was basically about in her 40s. Yeah, I think like in somewhere in her late 30s or her 40s. And she was working for me. And I saw her face bright as day. I know her face if I see it. And her face didn't change except for everything. And I was the general manager, and I was like chunky or whatever the case it was. And he saw, like, look into the mirror, he saw me or whatever the case it was, and then randomly out of nowhere, some dude with ice powers, literally he had ice powers. He killed that version of myself. Literally, he killed me. And he had a ice sword. Basically, what was the best example I can see here? He basically had ice powers, but basically he turned his hand to basically like a sword, basically. And literally, he attacked that version, the older version of myself, and he split his chest open. He like literally like cut his chest like this. And as soon as he did that, that version of me collapsed on the floor. He died, and this blue gem came up rising out of his chest, which basically was what's the word I'm looking for? Which is basically a literal, because stuff works different in different dimensions. A literal or a metaphorical way of saying his soul basically came out of his chest after he killed him. And that dude, it was a white guy. That dude that sat there and killed that version of myself was about to sit there and steal his essence and steal his soul after he died. And I was with God in this dream, and I was watching and whatnot, and God was sitting over there telling me that, don't get involved. And I sat there and I basically snapped in my dream, and I said, screw this. And literally, because as soon as he was about to grab that blue gem that came rising out of my chest, that older version of myself, I knew he was about to absorb my essence. And I sat there and I told God that, I'm not about to sit here and let this happen. And literally, I've said this before about saving that version of me that he's like a celebrity and stuff. Literally, I'm asleep. But basically, while I'm dreaming, I guess like I don't know how this stuff works, but basically, literally jumped in my dream, like how they have like in Doctor Strange or whatever, jumped in my dream, and what was it? Jumped in my dream. I grabbed the gem, took it, and I started running at the speed of light. And basically that dude, whoever he was, started chasing me, and then basically my dream ended. So there's that happened. I'm also dying of natural causes too. So there's also that. They tell you this stuff in movies that you can die of natural causes and whatnot. But that, and what else was it? That I'm gonna get to this in a minute. There's that. Jesus Christ. Okay, anyway. There it was. And God also sat here and told me, this is actually like either last year or this year, and has sat here and told me that there versions of celebrities that I know exist in this world that are evil, or whatever the case it is, where they took the mark of the beast, or whether they're evil, or whatever the case it is, they're good people. Like they're still famous, or whatever the case it is. And they're good people. Like, for example, I like the female wrestler, not Ronda Rousey. I hate that woman's guts. Rhea Ripley. Rhea Ripley in this world. This goes back to basically what God told me, but basically about how if If you take the mark of the beast, there's a version of you in another world that basically didn't. So it made the opposite decision, and it's never going to take it. So in the WWE, they basically have it, and they did this 3 years ago. They sat there and they said that basically, in order to be in the WWE, you have to get, there's that sound again, you have to get the mark of the beast. And Rhea Ripley, in this world, even though she's a champion, has all these belts and all this other stuff, she sat there and she took it, because that's how you have to still be able to wrestle and stuff. And I found out listening to Jake the Snake, old school wrestler, he's retired, and like a couple other wrestlers I was listening to, that basically the wrestlers, they get paid $1,000 a day. They're only off like maybe like once or twice a day or whatever the case it was, depending on their schedule and stuff. So they get paid $1,000 a day to wrestle. In which wrestling is also the highest sport where basically people die. When people sit here and say it's fake, it is not fake. It is completely real. The punches and stuff, the acting, all that other crap, that's fake. But some of the punches and the moves, yeah, all that's real. But long story short, God sat there and told me that since I like this wrestler, that there's a version of this wrestler that basically doesn't have the mark of the beast, and it doesn't have the mark of the beast, and decided not to be famous because I guess they had to make a decision or something. I'm still trying to figure that crap out. Don't think about this wrestler, none of it. God just sits here and tells me that this version of this wrestler that you like exist, and this person does not have the mark of the beast, and they have an ordinary life. I guess there's another version of that wrestler, or the same one, whatever the case it is, that basically Vince McMahon is still a piece of crap, but basically didn't implement it. So there you go. And then what else was there? There's also a couple other celebrities. There's also that celebrity. There's also there's the chick from Doom Patrol. I'm going to go and sit here and come out and spill the beans. The chick from Doom Patrol. She plays. She was on Orange Is the New Black, and she plays basically a Crazy Jane. I actually met this actor from met this actor, like, I guess, I wouldn't say met this actor, but God sat there and showed me this actress that I liked. And basically in her world, in another world, basically, she isn't on a Doom Patrol, and the world she's in that exists, basically, there's nothing, I wouldn't say there's nothing but Marvel, but DC Comics doesn't exist. Marvel Comics is the only comic book company that's making movies. Even though there's like multiple comic book companies, all this other stuff, she works for Marvel. And she was talking to this character. I was not talking to this character, but I was talking to this person, this different version of herself, and she was amazed at the fact that basically, wow, I didn't know that. And basically, because in her world, she works for DC. She plays Crazy Jane on Doom Patrol and everything. I love her character, and I guess that's why God basically sat there and said, "I'm gonna let you meet this person." And that person, I'm assuming, doesn't have the mark of the beast. They probably don't, and they work for Marvel, and Marvel is the only thing that's there. And then at the same time, I also met another celebrity, which I don't think about this celebrity, but I've seen the celebrity in my dreams before for the first time ever. It's the dude that played, what's his name? Cyclops, the adult version, in X-Men 1 through 3, the original with Hugh Jackman. God sat there and showed me where in this world, the guy's basically an a-hole. In that world, the guy in the world I'm talking about with the same actress that's involved with Marvel, he's a nice person. And so, was just telling me about how the person's personality is. I ain't never met the actor that played Cyclops in my life, and I ain't never met the actress that played Crazy Jane ever in my life. So, want to sit here and come out with that. So, in terms of like the whole multiverse thing, there are worlds where basically DC Comics doesn't exist. DC Comics doesn't exist, only Marvel exists, and that certain actors, when people are talking about comic book movies and roles and stuff, that basically they're on the opposite end, if that makes sense. So there's that. And then what else was there? And I remember a long time ago, I told somebody this over the phone or whatever, but a long time ago when I was, staying in my house, yeah, anyway. when I was staying in my house and stuff, uh, and whatnot. When I was staying in my house and stuff, I was sleeping in my room, and I went to sleep. I was dreaming, went to sleep in my room, and then lo and behold, it was like weird, but I was sleeping in my room, and then I also saw another version of me with a celebrity, talking to a celebrity saying, he's asleep. So literally, there's a version of me outside. And I was like somewhere else. There's a version of me that's outside talking to this celebrity, and then there's me sleeping in my room. And then also that celebrity, it's the light skinned chick. She used to play. I don't know her name. I suck at celebrity names, but basically she's the light skinned chick, the light skinned black chick that is in the Umbrella Academy season 3. And I think she's blind. She has like the power to control crows and stuff, crows or ravens or whatever. And she's blind, and she also, I grew up with the celebrity, not literally, but she also played in Skins, the TV show, the American version. So there you go. That's the celebrity that I'm talking about. So for some of these celebrities that are people, there are versions of them that basically are the complete opposite, that don't worship the devil, that don't have the mark of the beast, work for opposite companies and whatnot, and they're famous, but they still have like basically the same personality, or their personality is different, which is backing the stuff up. So what was it? That, and then I'm looking at it. Hold on real quick. Yeah, that. And then in terms of that, and that's really pretty much it that I can pretty much really think of. That, and then also want to sit here and come out and say, I also do want to sit here and incorporate and mention this. If you get to the end of this video, kudos to you. But basically, hold on. Okay, I got like 27% left. But basically, when I was staying in my house, God emphasized and mentioned to me, and I heard his voice, and he sat there and said that the government wants to buy your house because they think it's a portal. And obviously I'm staying at my uncle's, so God told me that once, and I think this is like months, like a month or two before my mom's house actually got bought. And God told me that, and then I think the last day me and my mom moved all the stuff out of our house. When I went to sleep, God gave me a dream about basically, once the dude sat there and bought my house, God sat there and told me, it had something about, God sat there and told me that the portal is closed in your room. Because basically, there had to be some legitimacy behind that, because I didn't pray for this, didn't ask for it, none of this stuff, and obviously the stuff I've been telling you that that I was experiencing at my house, that many experiences, in their eyes, basically that means that if you're having this many experiences going to different dimensions and all this other crap, that basically there must be a portal in your room or something, which is how you're able to sit here and do all this stuff. In which case, joke's on them, because God closed it. I am the portal, literally. And when you're with God, God takes you different places and shows you stuff and everything. I've done and whatnot. So I've talked about this stuff before. So God mentioned that to me, and then God also sat there and mentioned to me that once the dude sat there and bought the house, I don't know this dude, or the guy was a scammer. These type of people, they flip houses or whatever. But there had to be something behind that, because I don't know. I can't really sit here and say whatever, but there had to be some legitimacy behind that. Why does they sit here and buy my house if they think my room is a portal? But long story short, the dude bought the house. It's not staying in anymore. But that happened, and what else happened? And then pretty much after the dude got sat there and showed me that pretty much once the portal's closed and the dude bought the house, that they're going to be pissed, and they're mad, and because it's closed, and basically they bought this freaking house for nothing, which sucks to suck. So that, and also I've talked about like powers and telepathy and all this other stuff. Because I'll be alone in my house a lot, because my mom would be working and stuff, even though I work 2 jobs. But basically, when I was at my house, once again, hold on. Okay, there we go. God sat there and told me, not God sat there and told me, I heard a voice in my house, and I was in my house by myself because it was only me and my mom. I heard a voice in my house that sat, and it was real pissed and angry. And I have a clear mind and stuff, and I heard this voice, and it heard this voice in my house, and I heard it in my head that sat there, and it said that, you know, you are not supposed to know any of this. And then it disappeared, and then it disappeared. And so literally, if you're watching this video and you've been watching some of the other videos I've been making, I'm literally not supposed to know all this because I'm not making this crap up. I mean, this stuff is manifesting. This stuff is out here. This stuff, that's why I give examples and stuff, because this stuff is real and it exists. So there you go. And then there's that. And what else was there? I mentioned that basically that same dream where I talked about the different portals and stuff opening, like the 5 portals, and then basically I totally forgot to mention this because it just came up, where basically only one version of me can sit there and play the guitar. After that dream, basically it skipped, and basically I was on a talk show host. It was a female talk show host. She was a white lady. I think she had blonde hair. Was a white lady, and I told this lady that God knows that that's what it was. God was showing me that I felt what it felt like for God to be omnipotent, you know, like in different places at the same time. And I was on a talk show host talking to this woman, and I told her these exact words, that basically God knows what you're praying at night, you know, when you go to sleep and everything. I told her that. She started bursting out crying and everything, because how could somebody like that sit there and know such a thing? She started crying and everything, and then literally that happened. Another portal opened in my dream, and then I was echoing it out to basically like different portals in the multiverse and stuff. Like it was weird how it happened. And then pretty much after that had happened, I basically saw God sitting on a chair, sitting on top of like the multiverse, which, you know, that's hard to believe, but God was literally sitting on like a multiverse, and I saw him sitting in a chair. And so that's it. That is it. I haven't gotten any shift change things. I've totally forgot to mention that. But, you know, you can't blame me. But that's it in terms of shift change, multiverse, and anything else, really. I mean, pretty much. I mean, I'm just stoked for what's about to happen. So, I mean, I'm sitting over here stuttering. So literally that's pretty much it. Everything I want to cover. This video is almost 2 hours, so kudos to you if you sat here and you got through all this. If you got any questions, message me on Facebook. Don't come on my Instagram, because I already talked about people, how I cuss people out, block people, out people, and everything on Instagram. Ask me if you got any questions. Ask me in the comment section. Hopefully I get the comments, because YouTube hates my guts. And if you also got any questions, concerns, or if you got any, or, you know, want to talk about something, hit me up on Facebook. My Facebook is Paul, Paul, Truther, Truther, on Facebook. You can message me. I'll get that, and I'll talk to you. I'll leave you voice messages, talk to you, and everything. Pretty much that's it. I also want to sit here and mention that I have to do another video for this, but a TV show you should be watching. I don't put people on TV shows, but the TV show you should be watching is on Amazon. It's called The Power, THEPOWER, and it has like the faces like of 5 women with electrical powers and stuff. So I'll talk more about that later. But pretty much this is it for this video, and yeah, I hope you guys have a blessed day.